Hi there, and welcome to Entrepreneurship 101. This is episode 8, and today we're going to be talking about the pitch. The pitch is often glorified. You see it on Shark Tank and on different TV shows. But today we're going to talk about the real, what makes a successful pitch and how, because in reality, it can really, a lot of times, often make or break whether or not you can really create some really pivotal relationships. And what you can do with those relationships is really depends on how you go about your pitch. So we're going to start off by talking about the elevator pitch first. So the elevator pitch is a quick, well-rehearsed description of your company and the idea is that you can say it in the time it would take, essentially to ride up an elevator. But I want to make this clear. We're talking first about the elevator pitch, not the sales pitch, and they're two different things. We're going to start off with the elevator pitch, and we're going to get the sales pitch after this. You want a potential investor to buy into the business, not necessarily the product. When coming up with an elevator pitch, there are actually 8 main points you should mention, and I'm going to quickly go over the 8 points. First point is you want a brief description of your product. Secondly, you want to talk about the market, how big it is, and then quickly, 1 or 2 tidbits about the market itself. Third, you want to talk about the revenue model, how are you going to make money, what's your plan for that. Fourth, who is behind the company? Who's on the founding team? Who are the co-founders? Fifth, your competition. Is it direct versus indirect? What does your competition look like? What is your competitive advantage over your competition? How are you different? What makes you better? The hook. So a statement that will really spark interest in the potential investor. You want to use a lot of energy. Really show that you're into this and you mean business and you're really serious about your startup. The seventh step is you want to make sure that it's no more than 60 seconds. It can be shorter, but definitely no longer than 60 seconds. That should be the max. And last, you want to end with a request. Now what the request is could be a multitude of different things. It could simply be a business card. It could be a referral. It could be an email. It could be many different things. But whatever it may be, you want to make sure you get that request out by the end of that 60 seconds. Next, we're going to move on to the larger pitch, or in other words, the full presentation. And the full presentation is built on the 10-20-30 formula. So 10 is for 10 slides. The 10 slides in the presentation should take no more than 20 minutes. And the size of the font on the slide should be no larger than 30, right? You want a big font. You want the investors to be focused on you, right? You should be the focus of their attention, not the slides. The slides are really there to be an aid for you, in a visual enhancement of what you're saying verbally to the investors. Lastly, there's actually a particular order for how the slides should go about and how they should be. You want to start off with what the problem is. Then you want to go. Second one wants to be what is your solution to the problem, and the third, what a problem description and the description of the problem itself. Again, these 3 slides cover the vision phase, right? So vision, validation, again, as I mentioned in previous episodes, that's the vision phase. The 4th slide is going to go ahead and talk about your target audience. The 5th slide is about the size of the market you're getting into. So how big is it? Some discussion about that. The 6th slide is going to be about mentioning your competitors, as I mentioned for the elevator pitch. Who are your competitors? How do you differentiate yourself and all of that? 7th slide is talking about your team. So some background about your co-founders. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Not weaknesses, actually. What are your strengths? What does each co-founder bring to the table? What experience do they have that would enhance the overall company and the product? And then you want to talk about, for the 8th slide, you want to go into how are you going to execute and implement your product into the market? What's the transition going to be like? Is it going to be fluid? If it is, hopefully it's going to be fluid. How are you going to make it a fluid transition? Talk about your steps. Talk about your strategy. Make it clear that you really put some thought into this. That's the key. And the 9th slide, this is the ask. So the 9th slide is the ask, right? You've had great 8 slides that really hit home, hit the main point. You've driven it. You hook. Now you got to get them, right? You want to make that asking for money, and then but you want to follow up the ask for money with saying how you would actually use the money, right? You don't want to say, I'd love to have $10,000. No, you want to say, I'd love to have $10,000. As you see, we think there's a lot of potential here. We think the last step and the biggest obstacle towards us being a success is we need someone to help us develop, actually code and develop the app itself. And we're going to put that $10,000 towards going out there and finding the best developer or coder we possibly can. So that's the breakdown between the elevator pitch and the full presentation or sales pitch. Both critical, both different in their function. What's interesting enough is they hit upon basically the same points. It's just you're going into much bigger depth with, of course, the full presentation than you are the elevator pitch. But the elevator pitch, of course, you're not going to walk around having a full presentation ready to go at all times. But with the elevator pitch, this is something if you're serious about your company, you should be ready to go, because you never know. You're at a cocktail party, wherever you may be, you never know when you might need it. So it really comes in handy. And like I said earlier, it can really make a big difference in terms of the potential and how far a company or startup could go. Thank you. That's the end of this episode, and we look forward to seeing you back here soon.